Hello and welcome. This is James from the DSO Imager channel. Tonight I'm going to do a quick review on the Optolong L Ultimate filter. Back in 2020, Optolong had released a filter called the L Extreme. This was a very popular dual band narrowband filter. And what that means is that the filter had a narrow band of O3 and hydrogen alpha. Now, there's a number of dual band filters that pass HA and O3 out there for one-shot color cameras, but they all vary mostly in how wide the band passes are. The L Extreme had 7 nanometer passes for both HA and O3. I personally own an L Extreme filter, and I use it a lot with a ZWO ASI 533 MC, and it does a really good job on capturing the faint emission signals from HA and O3. So it's a great filter to use on emission targets. I have also used it to pull out the nebula from galaxy shots. Last year in 2022, Optolong came out with a new filter called the L Ultimate. This filter was similar to the L Extreme, except it had even narrower band passes. So instead of the 7 nanometer passes, you now get 3 nanometer passes for HA and O3. So the advantage you get from a narrower band pass is that it blocks out more of the unwanted light. So it is really good against light pollution. It works really well against the moon. Optolong reached out to me a couple months ago and asked if I'd be interested in receiving an example of the L Ultimate filter for test and review. And so, of course, I accepted, and I got the filter, and I've had the filter now for a little while. I did post a video a couple weeks ago just kind of showing the filter as I received it and showing how I plan to use it in a filter wheel. The one that I got is a 1 1/4 inch filter. So this is a good bit smaller than the 2-inch filter, which is the other option, but at 1 1/4 it matches up very well with a camera like the ASI 533 MC, and I can put it in a little mini filter wheel and automate the whole process of changing filters. I go into more detail about the merits of using a filter wheel on a one-shot color camera in that video, so if you're interested in checking that out, look that video up. I'll put a link in the description. Now, what I'm going to do with this review is I'm going to show 3 different targets. The first target is going to be the Bubble Nebula, and with the Bubble Nebula, I'm going to compare this filter with the results that I shot with the L Extreme and also with a luminance filter, so broadband. So we can see the difference between getting data with your normal filter that you're used to with the one-shot color and seeing what these dual band filters can do for you. It's also going to be interesting to see the difference between the L Extreme and the L Ultimate. So for those of you that already have the L Extreme, maybe this will help you decide if it's worth the upgrade or not. Then I'm also going to show a picture of Thor's helmet that I took, and I'm also going to show a picture to see how the halo performance of this filter is. Alright, so let's start with some of this data here. So what you're already seeing here is raw stacked unprocessed shot of the Bubble Nebula taken with the L Ultimate. The telescope was a Celestron Edge HD8, and my backyard is a Bortle 5. This is 13 hours worth of data. It's actually a little bit more. It is exactly 81 10-minute subs. And this is what an unlinked auto stretch looks like. In fact, let me pull the screen transfer function tool here. Yep. So no processing, no calibration frames. I had some issues when I took the pictures earlier in the year of the bubble with the broadband filter and the L Extreme. issues with calibration frames, and I took those pictures months before I had received or knew that I was receiving this L Ultimate filter. So it doesn't match up exactly, but it's still going to give a good example of how the filters perform. So keep in mind, this is no flats, no darks, no bias, dark flats, anything. This is just the lights stacked in Deep Sky Stacker. Also, I should mention that these L Ultimate pictures and the L Extreme data were all captured with various stages of moon. I avoided full moon nights for this review, but there was definitely bits of moon out there. The one-shot color data, which the filter I used was a Optolong luminance filter, just for UV IR cut purposes. We have 16 hours worth here, and there was absolutely no moon at all when I captured this data. So this is just the results of the Bortle 5. We do have some problems here, and you'll see more when I remove the stars. There are no flats in this, and no darks. So, I mean, this is really the advantage that you get with narrowband filters, especially these dual band filters like the L Ultimate with one-shot color on emission targets. Now, I'm in a Bortle 5. If I were in a Bortle 7 or 8, the difference would be even more stark between the two. But we can see a difference in the stars, obviously, and we can see a difference in the detail of the bubble itself. So again, this is more. This is 16 hours versus 13 hours, and we're getting more detail here. And let me just show a couple other shots of this. I did a little bit of a processing on this. So this is the one-shot color data with dynamic background extraction and color correction, and then here's without the stars. And yeah, you can see why I didn't go anywhere further with this picture, because without good flat frames, this just would have been a mess to try and clean up. But I think it still does a pretty good example of showing what you can get. Now things get a bit more interesting comparing the L Extreme data. So this is the exact same amount of exposure, 81 10-minute subs, a little over 13 hours. The framing is a little bit different, right? You can see there's a difference in the rotation. That's just because this was taken in the summer or late summer, and this was taken, most of these shots were actually captured in December, just as the bubble was getting low. Now it might be hard to see, but just me eyeballing it from here, it does look like the L Extreme data is a bit brighter than the L Ultimate, and that's really kind of expected, I think, because the wider bandpass is going to allow more light in. But the stars just zoomed out here look better on the L Ultimate, except for this corner. When I put this image train back together, I did introduce some tilt, which I need to go figure out. But anyway, so that's what it looks like here. But if we zoom in, I think we're starting to see the difference here. There is definitely more detail on the L Ultimate versus the L Extreme. We can see it over here in particular. Like, we've got clear structure over here. We got this part coming over here, and it's not as well defined over here, right? It's just not as well. So it would take more exposure with the L Extreme to resolve some of this detail that we're getting with the L Ultimate. Okay, scroll down and take a look at some of this nebula. And yeah, I think there's definitely more definition. It definitely is showing us more than what we're getting in here. It's softer over here. So it's really subtle. And again, this is with longer focal length, right? 1422. So if you're running, 400 millimeter, 80 millimeter scope or something like that, how noticeable of a difference would it be? I'm not sure. Oh, before I forget, one interesting thing. Um, this was a little bit of a pleasant surprise. The L Ultimate is very nearly parfocal with the Optolong luminance filter. Uh, the difference was 7 steps in my autofocuser. So almost a negligible difference. The autofocuser I'm using is the Celestron autofocus. So that those step sizes are going to be different than say a ZWO EAF, but they are very close. Now with autofocusing with the L Ultimate filter is definitely a challenge because that bandpass is so narrow. It's not letting a lot of light in with the stars. I mean, you can tell just by looking at these pictures how much dimmer and tighter the stars are. So it's a challenge doing the autofocus that way. But you just use filter offsets, and you can use the luminance filter for the autofocus part. And with the L Ultimate only being 7 steps off from the luminance filter, I mean, so I have that offset in there, but it probably doesn't even really need to be there. So that was a pleasant surprise. Oh, and speaking of stars, let's take a look at this bright one. There we go. So yeah, you can even see the difference on all these other stars right around here. And again, just as a reminder, this is unprocessed. Just stack and a unlinked auto stretch. Now I did process this. I got more data on it with the L Ultimate, and so we have 19 hours. This is a process shot, and this is what I ended up with. There we go. So I think that came out pretty good. Now with processing these images with the L Ultimate or really any other dual band narrowband filter, you have a lot of different options today. A lot of different tools and scripts out there to do all kinds of things. If you wanted to simulate a Hubble palette shot, you could do that now. Alright, let's take a look at the Thor's helmet shot. I collected 12 hours. This is the fully processed shot. Just 12 hours, which if you're familiar with my channel, 12 hours is not a lot. I typically go 20 or more with my shots. But for 12 hours, Thor's helmet's like the perfect target for dual band, narrow band filters, especially at this focal length. Really, any filter that's got a lot of O3 signal, a lot of planetary nebula make great targets. Let's change the orientation. There we go. That's probably what most people are used to seeing. Yeah, so I think that came out pretty good. I may try to get more data on this target. And if anyone's interested in seeing how I process these pictures, either this one or this one over here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because most of my videos are workflow videos, and I will probably post a workflow video on at least one of these. Let me know in the comments which one you'd like to see, or if you'd like to see both of them. Alright, now I wanted to do to test the filter's performance with star halos, because halos, those are a killer, and I was actually thinking about using all in attack, but I forgot that at this focal length, right, all in attack like by itself takes up like half the screen. So what I ended up doing is I pointed at an area near M42 that had some bright stars in it to see if I would get filters, right? Because, I mean, look, the brightest star over here, not really seeing much of a halo. I think on that, right, this is the brightest star over here. I mean, maybe a faint halo there, but, you know, nothing really noticeable. So let's see what this looks like here. Alright, there it is. And yes, we do get halos with this filter. Not only that, but with this particular image train, with that Celestron edge, we even got a reflection. It's very faint. You can barely see it there, but it's there. This shot's like 18 minutes. It was a really short shot. I just wanted to see the impact of really bright stars. So, yeah, definitely getting a halo there. If you see like these things, this is because I had no calibration frames in this shot. It was only 18 minutes. So, more integration time or dark frames would limit these hot pixels that you're seeing. So, you can ignore those. Let's look at these other stars. See these other stars? I mean, I'm seeing some of this color separation, but honestly, that is probably more the reducer that I'm using with the Celestron Edge, which is notorious for producing this kind of color separation. Yeah, these other stars, the halos I don't really see any halos. So it looks like you're only going to get the halos on the very brightest stars. So All in Attack would probably be a troublemaker for us. Now, one thing to notice, note the color of the halo, right? It's kind of a greenish. So these are blue stars, and the halo is showing up on the blue. Now, you can process halos out, and I kind of did a quick job at that. Yeah, there. So this is like a process, so you can see. So I mean, the halos can be a real problem. It's not necessarily a game over. You can deal with them. It's still visible in this. I just did a really quick mask. Let's see, is the mask. Yeah. So here's what I do: is I take a range mask. Right, and the range mask revealed the halo. And then I jump into Photoshop and use a brush to just wipe out everything except the halo itself. And then I use curves mostly to kill the halo. Let's see, is this... Oh yeah, it's just kind of the... So this is a mask of the green channel. The way I did this, if anyone's interested or curious, is I took... So here's a starless image, and I split this into RGB channels. That's just, you do that just by hitting, is it this button here? Split RGB channels. And notice in the red, there's no halo. Right? Now, if this were a big red star, then the halo would be here and not in the blue or green. Most noticeable in the green. And so I then use that mask and pull back on curves to remove the halo, all while still linear. It's still linear. Then combine the images and use the mask again and just pull back on curves a little bit on the green and blue and desaturate it. The side effect of this is that, of course, it turned this blue star into a yellow star, but it is a narrow band image, right? So, it's all false color anyway. But I thought it was important to show this filter's performance on really bright stars, because that's certainly going to be a question that comes up. So yeah, this one is you are probably going to get halos with this one on only the very brightest stars, and you can decide for yourself how much of an impact that is. I will tell you that, I mean, to get filters without halos is almost impossible. I even have chroma filters on one of my imaging trains, and I still sometimes get little tiny halos. I think the more expensive glass tends to shrink the size of the halo, but to completely eliminate it, that might be a challenge. It could also be that it's a combination of the filter and the rest of your image train, the telescope in particular, and how it behaves on the filters. Alright, so that's all I've got on this review. I think the L Ultimate is an excellent filter. It does a fantastic job. If you just got yourself a one-shot color camera and you don't have any kind of narrowband type filters, the L Ultimate is definitely one worth considering. If you already have an L Extreme or some other type of dual band filter, it's a depends, I think. You'll have to decide. The differences are subtle. The L Ultimate's definitely better than the L Extreme with that narrower band pass, but depending on your environment, it may or may not be noticeable. I think it would benefit you if more if you're in a really badly light polluted area. In a Bortle 5, such as where I'm shooting from, you can see the differences. It's there, just minor. Okay, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and clear skies.